Johnny! I'll be back.
And you will know my name is the Lord. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Groovy.
So one of my friends in Eau Claire started this. I'm just a bandwagon fan. But when you see someone you know, you just shout at them, "Get a job!" And the proper response to this is, "I hope you die." And you both have to shout this at each other as loud as you can, even if you're in public. So we were trying to get more and more people to do it, because Sean was doing it in Eau Claire, and eventually people just always started shouting, "I hope you die" at him whenever they saw him, because they recognized him from this game. I want that to be a thing wherever I go.
Cody?
Yeah.
Get a job!
I hope you die!
Good, so do I.
Good! We all feel that way inside. Let's hug it out, bro.
Yo. Buds.
No, I don't like this anymore.
Would you two stop touching each other?
No!
Hey,
Don't
dude,
judge our love.
I was hoping we could go do something dirty.
The worst part is, while you're seeing this, I'm watching Freddy vs. Jason, and right now they're in the corn rave. So you're seeing there's just like a bunch of kids in slow-mo light sticks flashing around.
I like how that was what you went with.
How was that your follow-up to Nightbreed?
Well, I was going to do 30 Days of Night, but that wasn't seasonally appropriate. So this one is a little better.
You know what, Cody? Why don't you get a job?
I hope you die! Speaking of which, everything is true. God's an astronaut. Oz is over the rainbow. The Box Office Pulp actually has followers. And Midian is where the monsters live. This is Box Office Pulp. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Who knows where this will actually be in the podcast? It might be about 40 minutes in, considering the amount of content we've already generated. Joining me today, Mike Napier. Say hello, Mike.
There's a face beneath this face.
Well, I'm disturbed. MB, say hello.
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 And stop. And last up, no, it's too late. And last up, James Lewis.
Y'all come back now. You hear?
And I'm your host. I have nothing clever to add to that, Cody.
Say your meat for the beast. Just say it.
Your meat for the beast.
No, I'll cut that out.
Thank you. If only I were editing. This would all be in there and more. There are actually microphones in all of your rooms. I've got so much material.
Oh, I see mine, actually.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't take it down. You're helping the cause.
Why is mine a camera?
Oh, mine too. I'm actually waving.
Shh. Quiet. Just look in the camera.
Oh, it winks at me.
Yeah, dude.
That's where the monsters live, isn't it?
Take off that velour.
In Cody's secret room.
Mm-hmm. So, Nightbreed. We're here today to talk about Nightbreed.
After that incredibly disturbing opening.
Good, right? That fits.
It does, actually.
Clive Barker, be proud. Now, why the hell are we doing Nightbreed?
Why would we do Nightbreed? It's Nightbreed.
What's our reasoning for doing Nightbreed now? Like, did someone just finish watching it, or am I making that up?
We watched it with MB just a couple of weeks ago. Not to mention the fact that the director's cut was released only a couple of months ago and was recently put on Netflix.
Very true. I mean, I watched it for my first time when the director's cut came out, so I'm still pretty much a Nightbreed newbie.
Yeah, so James and I experienced the theatrical cut, then the director's cut. You guys have just experienced the director's cut.
Now, when did you guys see the theatrical cut originally?
This was about 5 years ago.
2006, I think, for me.
Did it make any sense? Because I haven't seen the theatrical cut, so for all I know, it's just one weird music video.
Kinda.
I should say I first heard of Nightbreed on a horror blog I used to frequent, and then kind of made it my own personal mission to catch it on cable. As for whatever reason, for a while, Stars would just air this at like 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. As soon as I watched it, I then made it my second mission to get Mike to watch it.
This seems like the Mike kind of movie, like the Mikiest movie.
Even in its fractured state, I could tell this was the most us movie ever made.
I just want to point out the Mikiest movie should be a forever phrase for Box Office Pulp.
That's a segment on Box Office Pulp now.
The Mikiest movie. Hey,
Over the
Mikey,
week.
I think he likes it.
Brick. Credits.
But,
Yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
I'd say we both enjoyed the movie a great deal, as much of a train wreck as it was editing wise. As we've said a lot over the years, the theatrical cut of Nightbreed isn't so much a movie as it is a trailer for an amazing movie.
Because there's like 20 minutes removed, isn't there, or something like that? 18, 20?
Oh, it's bananas.
Yeah.
Because even in the finished form, there's some confusing parts. Like, to me, the religious guy throws me off a little bit.
Baphomet.
Well, if you're confused by Ashbury in the director's cut, you've seen anything. So you've seen him in the theatrical cut where he's literally in there for like 30 seconds.
So he just shows up at the end?
Boom, priest.
Because why not? And just like the tonal shifts, like even in the complete form where it can breathe a little more, it still kind of goes from like kind of a fantasy movie to like a slasher movie to just like an all-out action movie.
Well, there are several reasons for that. First and foremost, even the director's cut it's still not exactly the director's cut that.
Yeah, there's the Cabal cut, which like how many, like another hour of footage or something
it's
insane?
4 hours long. The director's cut is all of the footage they could salvage from VHS quality.
Yeah,
So
and
it's like
apparently,
Metropolis. It's still not complete.
yeah, apparently people who have seen the Cabal cut say that it still doesn't necessarily clear a lot of things up, but it's just very disjointed and things that obviously were gonna be cut out even if Barker had control anyway.
Yeah,
So
the Cabal
it's
cut is just everything. It's a work print. It's just everything tossed together. It wasn't meant to be shown that way.
Yeah, but there's still a couple things in the Cabal cut I felt like should have maybe still been worked in the director's cut, but what can you do?
So,
There's a Pelican love scene in the Cabal cut that I would have killed to see.
Oh, yeah.
So have you guys actually watched the Cabal cut or just seen like descriptions?
Just descriptions.
Yeah, it's never been released. I don't know why they didn't put it as a special feature, at least.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's some weird rights thing going on because when Scream released this, I know only the theatrical cut could be included in like the Super Deluxe Limited Edition. They weren't allowed to put that as like a special feature on the regular Blu-ray.
Yeah, which
So I think there's.
I'd like to rewatch the theatrical cut.
It would have been really interesting to compare, but I'm not spending $70 for
No, it ain't worth
cuts of one movie. Yeah, and I like the movie. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of moolah to spend for one film.
The theatrical cut is not worth it.
No.
Going back to the disjointed nature, as I was saying, them not having complete access to footage is one thing. Second is, I'll be honest, it was written and directed by Clive Barker, who I'm an enormous fan of, but yeah, that's kind of par for the course for some of his stuff. Some things just are. You just gotta roll with it.
Hellraiser was actually the sanest thing he would ever do, both in literary terms and in filmmaking terms.
Even in Hellraiser, I had an amazing experience once a couple of years ago where I had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of watching Hellraiser with a bunch of high-strung teenage girls.
Wonderful.
I had to explain to them what S&M was. That was a conversation.
Wow.
You had such things to tell them.
And they didn't understand the movie at all, so I had to, explain the plot. And I realized that Hellraiser doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, there's these monsters that come, and they torture you to death, and then you disappear. But if there's some of your body left in the room, then if somebody bleeds on that, then it will slowly cause you to come back to life, and then you do things to other people's bodies that will restore your skin.
Out of curiosity, have you read the novella The Hellbound Heart?
I'm currently reading it right now.
And
Okay.
I have.
That one, it makes slightly more sense that Frank comes back in the story just because he masturbates on the wood first before he dies.
As per usual, masturbation is the MacGuffin of Clive Barker.
A sentence I didn't think I was going to have to say today, but hey.
This is Barker works with storytelling two ways. One, fairy tale logic, and two, hardcore sex logic you can't put into a film.
Right.
So those two things kind of don't work well sometimes.
One of my favorite what the fuck Clive Barker moments in any of his books I don't remember which short it was. It's from one of the Books of Blood. A guy is basically getting sucked off, and he only realizes something is wrong when the girl giving him a blowjob has been giving it for too long. Like, wait a minute, she hasn't come up for air. She's undead! That's the point where the guy realizes that it's a dead girl who is...
Ghost blowjob.
Right, yeah. I'm just reading this, I'm like, what? Okie dokie. Let's just keep rolling.
All Clive Barker's stories take place in a world where just fucked up shit happens, and it seems people are just adjusted to it.
Yeah.
Like, I look out for the signs. I can be driving down the street and there's just a goat being sacrificed in the middle of Times Square.
Not
By
again.
magicians.
All right. Is that Rawhead Rex under that rock? Put it back.
Actually, who here has seen Lord of Illusions?
Oh, yeah, that one does not... I kind of want to get into that, but fuck it, we can do it now. It's kind of strange. Clive Barker, he's made some famous movies, but a lot of people don't recognize him as a director at all. Which is weird, because he had a string of, like, really interesting, well-made movies, and it's like, okay, look at Wes Craven. He made a ton of shit that's just terrible, but people still really remember him as a master of horror. Clive Barker gets that designation only for his novelized work. And I don't know why, because Lord of Illusions is really good. Nightbreed had potential even back in the days when it was all cut up, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Hellraiser. Like, that one's, classic horror sex. Yeah. Like, that should be enough.
Now he can't make a movie if he asks.
To which I say that is homophobia.
And British phobia. And scary voice phobia. Seriously, have you heard Clive Barker in the past decade?
He doesn't have a voice anymore. He just has something from hell scratching on his vocal cords every time he talks.
He's what the engineer would sound like in Hellraiser.
He is Tom Waits' ultimate evolution.
Yes.
Tom Waits digivolved into Clive Barker.
Hey, Clive Barker, how do I get that?
Also, visually, he is the scariest yet most flamboyant British man you will ever see.
He looks like a pirate from hell.
Bro's gotta have an image.
Going back to Nightbreed.
I will say it is sad that he just, between Nightbreed and Lord of Illusions, that he just became done with Hollywood and stopped directing after that. I would love to have seen Barker continue to direct into at least the early 2000s.
Was that it? Because I just kind of figured, like, none of his movies besides Hellraiser really made bank, I'm assuming.
It was the combination of those two things and the studio just fucking with him so much that he just refused to work with them anymore.
Didn't he also direct an adaptation of Rawhead Rex that was just god-awful?
Yes, that was like in the early 80s. That was like a first thing he ever did.
So he got to move past it. Okay, good.
Rawhead Rex!
It looks ridiculous.
I remember reading the story and thinking it was a little ridiculous, so it makes sense the movie be out there too.
But that comes to the third thing I was going to go to with just why the movie has so many weird tonal shifts, and that's the fact that even with the director's cut, the movie is about 60-70% Clive Barker, then 40% studio notes, which you can't see more clearly than with Dr. Decker, who, despite being an amazing character, was essentially the studio saying, whoa, what's all this fantasy crap? We hired you to make a horror movie. Where's Jason? So he just begrudgingly wrote an 80s slasher villain into the story.
Played by David Cronenberg.
We have to mention that because it is amazing. Even though it's shoehorned in and it doesn't jive with the rest of the movie, I don't care. I would love it if there was a separate movie just of Decker.
Decker is actually one of my favorite parts, if not my favorite part of Nightbreed.
Decker is the greatest studio note of all time. Like, it's Deckard and it's Decker and Elaine from Seinfeld. Those are the two good studio notes.
Like,
such an amazing mask.
Yeah, to explain Dr. Decker is like, he's half a slasher, half a supervillain, half an extremist racist, half like there's all this amazing villain plot going on with this character that just you feel like is barely even scratched the surface within the actual movie.
He's also half an incompetent Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
It's an important part of him. Like, you can't understand his motives, but he also isn't smart enough to be like, okay, yeah, he's clearly up to something very nefarious that's just beyond me.
And he's just creepy as all hell because it's
Oh, yeah.
But also,
Ugh.
he is the best Scarecrow mask that has ever been introduced in film, including the Scarecrow mask.
It's got the button eyes. It's like Coraline for adults, which is Coraline.
My favorite part is that Decker does have a supervillain name, Button Eyes, which is just never used in the movie.
Ah, that makes sense. I also love the way he takes his mask off. Like, Cronenberg probably made this up himself, I'm imagining, because he's a scary individual. He takes the mask off by putting the fingers in the mouth and then lifting it off.
He pulls it off the pleasure way.
I love whenever Cronenberg shows up in movies, because he's just so unsettling and weird.
Just imagine if Cronenberg was your father.
God.
Just like the scary lessons he would teach you. Like, that's why you always leave a note.
With his pulsating television.
Like, you try and sneak into the house after curfew, you walk into your room, and there's intestines are hanging over everything. There's a videotape that's just screaming, "Kill me!" And it's vomiting toenails all over your floor. And you're just like, "Oh, God, I'm sorry, Dad."
But just to get into Nightbreed proper, because we've actually talked very little about the movie itself. Nightbreed is essentially Clive Barker as a gay man in the late 80s, early 90s, writing a film about being in a closeted community and coming out. And what he comes up with is a character named Aaron Boone is briefly placed into a mental hospital, but he's been having like these psychotic visions of a place called Midian.
Cue the Danny Elfman score.
Which, by the way, there is a Danny Elfman score for this movie, and it's amazing.
It was one of the few times, I think, after the 80s where Danny Elfman was not afraid to be fucking Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Like, he just turned it full on. This is like Beetlejuice Danny Elfman, where it's just, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he was...
Diddly.
It might be actually my favorite Danny Elfman score. Like, it's
fantastic. Batman Returns. Yeah.
This is a second of it. As we were discussing when watching the movie, Nightbreed is like this hidden missing link between Batman 89 Elfman and Batman Returns Elfman.
Well, also Darkman.
And Darkman, of course.
Yeah.
Darkman was pretty Elfman.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the score is amazing. But back to the story. The story is essentially that Boone finds Midian, and it's a kind of a fantasy horror land where all these like demonic entities live, but they've kind of created their own society, and they leave everyone kind of undisturbed. And eventually, Boone finding them kind of incurs the wrath of the people who are hunting him down because he's a wanted fugitive at this point. And it kind of just spirals out of control from there, because it's this whole involved process where he's trying to become one of the followers of their Lord Baphomet. I think he's trying to be inducted as one of them, but he's not sure if he wants to become one of them. And at the same time, there's this serial killer going around. Once again, it's kind of just there, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to the story itself, but there's a serial killer who is also his doctor, named Dr. Decker, who's killing people and also just has this disdain for the Midians, which it's not entirely clear why.
Barker does his best, but essentially Decker is obsessed with killing what he sees as breeders. Just families breeding out of control and just breeding disgusting filth that's below average and like an ant colony gone wrong. So he sees the Nightbreed as just a further extension of that.
Like he kills.
It would be nice if they put that in the movie. That's a good explanation.
Kind of in one scene, and that's it.
Well, he starts the movie off by killing an entire family in front of a child, but it's not really made clear like why. That's just more of like his introductory slasher villain scene.
I like the idea that Deckard's motivation is based around the idea that a serial killer's ultimate fantasy would be genocide. Like, holy shit, I can wipe out an entire race?
Yeah.
That's so hard.
I like Decker's trademark move of, hey, look, a thing! And then having that thing be, his ultimate driving force. Hey, look at this. What's this? I'm being stabbed. Hey, look over there. What? He's got a gun. That's like his go-to move. Just distract someone quickly and then like, what's over there? Hit him.
What? Does he have ADHD?
Apparently, that's his ability. He gives everyone else ADHD, where they lose focus on the fact that there's a lunatic in front of them.
Look. If David Cronenberg tells you to look at something, you fucking look.
Apparently, yeah.
If he shows up in that mask, you're just going to go insane and start looking at things that aren't there. So,
listen, I just want to see a deleted scene of him romancing that woman. Damn it, Cheryl Ann.
But
your time was too brief.
No.
Another thing that's kind of interesting about the world of Midian is that they're clearly undead, and in fact, Boone himself kind of has to die to become one of them.
Well, some of them are undead.
Exactly, yeah. They mentioned that some have moved beyond death, so you have to assume some haven't. And that probably plays into how some of them can die from, like, bullets and some can't, I'd imagine.
Which is one of my favorite things about the creation of the Nightbreed, is that Barker seemed very insistent that they're not going to just be one thing, which is a trope you see in similar stories time and time again. Like, there's the regular people, and then there's the wizards, or there's this, and then there's this. But the Nightbreed, they're not just one race. Like, every individual one feels like he or she has their own characteristics. They're part of their own particular species with their own attributes.
Yeah, they're a true community.
Like, there's one dude that early on in the film rips part of his skull apart and kind of goes throughout the rest of the movie with, like, half of a detached skull. And then there's a porcupine lady. Just the porcupine lady.
The greatest character in the movie.
The guy with eyeball tentacle pincers that just roll out of his stomach. There's all sorts of weird stuff. The
unofficial villain of the movie is, like, what is he exactly? Like, the guy that he first meets in Midian?
He's kind of a porcupine dude, but with dreadlocks.
Kind of
and a scary face.
I love how there's one, like, some people get the short end of the stick. Like, one of the dudes clearly just has, like, boils on his face. Like, that's no big deal. But then there's other guys that look like a cross between the Crypt Keeper and, like, a pile of Tyrannosaurus shit.
Then there's Lylesburg with his cheek eyes.
Yeah, Doug Bradley, who was Pinhead, of course. He plays kind of the de facto leader of the breed, and his character, it doesn't really make sense, the design of it. You don't know what exactly he is, but it's fascinating, actually.
Fun fact, in theatrical cut, not Doug Bradley's voice.
They found a random German dude to dub him over.
That's bizarre.
And he has zero screen presence.
Yeah, Bradley has an amazing screen presence in the director's cut. I'm surprised that they went with that.
I just like the idea of someone watching Hellraiser and saying, hey, you know this Pinhead guy? I don't like his voice.
Going back to the community thing for a second, one thing I really like about Barker's idea for the Nightbreed is that you don't even necessarily have to be a monster to be part of the Nightbreed. There's just something different inside of you. Boone didn't do anything physically to him. Yeah, once he became Nightbreed and went beyond death, he had that weird transformation thing where he had some makeup on his face.
Yeah,
but other than that, he's not a monster or anything.
He got the handsome monster transformation.
Yeah, he just kind of got lacerations on his face, and his skin kind of turns bluish.
Well, that's really just because he's undead and Nightbreed about it.
Yeah, it fits very nicely with the whole metaphor for the gay community that Barker was trying to pull off, where it's not so much just one particular thing that's been driven underground. It's just a community of outcasts of various stripes. Everyone has their own motivations and their own morality. They're not monolithic in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not like, actually the Cenobites even. Like, the Cenobites are very much specifically one thing. These are very different. That's what I like the most about the Nightbreed, is that really they are nothing like the Cenobites at all. And they're not even, they're not villains for one thing, but they're also just not weird for the sake of being weird in some places. They're not, overly S&M. They're not overly monstrous in some places. Some places they are, but it's just kind of for the sake of variety. It doesn't feel like it's just being freakish to be, I don't know, honestly, just kind of shocking or anything like that. Kind of with some of the Cenobite designs.
Yeah, Barker has a great talent for presenting the monstrous as being exotic and beautiful rather than something to be terrifying.
Oh, I actually love Barker's way that he romanticizes the grotesque. Like, I think it's actually the most unique way to put monsters in that kind of perspective because, they're always seen as these hideous and, malformed things that should be feared, but he paints them as if they should be works of art.
Well, look at Kinski, the porcupine woman, who is the quote-unquote sexy character of the movie.
Suna Sasi.
Oh, is that Sunas? Okay.
Kinski is, he's a fat one, isn't he? Like the one with the tentacles?
Great.
They all have Barker names. It's kind of hard to keep.
Now we've got to restart the entire show. Oh, man.
But yeah, Sassy.
But yeah, she is presented as kind of this temptress, but at the same time, it's like she's very clearly a porcupine woman. It's not as if like, oh, she's, a sexy porcupine woman. No, she's a monstrous porcupine woman. And yet there's something, well, yeah, I mean, that's what I mean is that there is something about the way Barker presents her that it's amazing in that it kind of transcends her actual design and he kind of works with it to make it something more than it is.
That's really one of my favorite monster designs ever.
I'm still mad there's not more of her in the director's cut.
I still want to know why she dreamed of Boone. I mean, who wouldn't, to be fair?
But going back to Boone himself, there is...
I feel like you guys just want to say the word Boone. That's the only reason.
Fun name.
Well, the thing is that my point that I was going to make is that everyone in this movie wants to say Boone. That's his last name. Nobody calls him Aaron. They just say Boone. Even his girlfriend, just constantly calls out, Boone, where are you? Boone! Come on, Boone!
Boone!
You think on set Barker was like, listen here, Boone?
One of the, I would say, kind of downfalls of Nightbreed is that Boone is not a particularly interesting main character at all.
Boone is the ultimate bad protagonist in a good movie.
Yeah.
He doesn't even really have that much to do until the very end where it's like, oh, right, we should probably fight all these Hicks. I'll find the statue later.
He really doesn't have a driving motivation beyond, the initial setup for his character. It's like, oh, yeah, he wants to go to Midian. But once he gets there, it's like, nothing really happens with him. He's just kind of there.
And he leaves Midian, then he has to go back to Midian. I still feel like maybe some lost stuff in the second act still kind of screws Boone a little bit, but Boone. But Boone is just sort of there for the story. I mean, you have to see Nightbreed, and this is another downfall of Nightbreed, which is it was ultimately a prequel film to something Barker wanted to do.
Yeah,
it definitely feels that way.
Barker wanted this to be his Star Wars. This was going to be a franchise before franchises were really a thing. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, this was the setup film.
Yeah, because at the end you have a new villain set up. You have all the legendary stuff. Boone is supposed to be some prophesized figure. It feels like in the movie, but he doesn't quite get to do any of that. This is the lead up to him becoming that figure.
Yeah, it's more of him just kind of being a human who's encapsulated in this world he doesn't understand, but eventually, that kind of trope.
Well, there's
he's
something
just very standard.
Well, something you said when we were watching it, actually, MB, that I thought was fascinating. It's kind of a reverse of the bad movie trope of the hot girl who just stands around and is hot and has the plot happen around her.
Yeah.
But it's directed by Clive Barker, so it's a sexy dude who just stands around and has plot happen to him.
There's literally a scene where he just comes, downstairs from his apartment, and he's just, tripping out, and for no reason whatsoever, seemingly, he's in his underwear. It's
No, he's in a towel. He just got out of the shower. It's a very small towel, too. You can't quite go around his waist.
Then he watches a ghost version of himself make love to his ghost girlfriend.
Which you two even pointed out. Yeah, this still makes no sense, even in this version.
Oh, that was not in the theatrical version, I promise you.
He's confused, too. He's sitting there watching this happen, and he just looks like, what?
Why is my life directed by Clive Barker?
And also,
Barker put that scene back in special. I don't know why. And Ghost Boone at the window is still hilarious to me.
well, Boone also is just a character that things just happen to him. That's really kind of how you can describe his character. Things happen and he reacts. And most of the time he reacts very stoically.
Well, his girlfriend is essentially the main character.
Which is what I found fascinating watching the director's cut, because she's barely in the theatrical, but in the director's cut, she's essentially the main character.
Yeah.
Which is weird because, like, the end is essentially him choosing to leave her to go be the part of this other community, which, by the way, is the biggest parallel, I think, is the biggest telling of what this movie was supposed to be and what the message was supposed to be. And then she, like...
Spoilers, Nightbreed dies at the end.
But she essentially just forces him, in what I found to be kind of a weird move was she forces him to make her one of the Nightbreed, which is like...
Which may or may not have worked, I mean, based on the rules we've seen set up in the film.
Well, Boone wasn't sure either.
So is she trying, like, in terms of the idea of the gay metaphor, like, I don't get it.
I think the metaphor for the gay community, it's just meant to show that she's willing to take that journey alongside him and enter that world with him. Kind of like getting someone into S&M.
Yeah, I kind of took it a little bit literally, I think.
To further muddy the waters, though, the first time she's in Midian, one of the monsters comes up to her and says, "With enough time, you'll want this just like all of us." So I don't know what you're going to do with that.
That's a gay man.
It is interesting that I never knew Nightbreed was supposed to be a love story.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. Because, like, again, none of that's in the theatrical cut. They have no relationship. She's just there.
She's there, and she's in, I mean, if she's in 75% of the film now, let's say, she's in 35% of the theatrical cuts?
I'd say less than that.
Probably.
It's so weird as someone who hasn't seen that version, because it's like, that to me makes it the most like a film. That's the thing that kind of makes it coherent and sort of narratizes it.
That's why the theatrical cut is just a series of images.
Yeah, it's just some cool looking stuff that happens.
And meanwhile, the love story itself is just like one of the most 80s things I've seen, because it plays kind of all the hits of an 80s love story, in that it's just more naturalistic. It's ironically enough, it's less fairy tale than you would imagine for this kind of story.
Yeah, it does the 80s thing of, okay, these two people are in love. Let's get on with the story.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Meanwhile, she still can't call him anything but Boone.
Oh, his name's Aaron. Who wants to say Aaron? Especially when you can say Boone.
Boone of the Nightbreed. Unfortunately, if that sequel did get made, he would just be Cabal, which is slightly less fun to say.
It's a lot less fun to say, let's be honest.
Cody, have you read Cabal?
I have not.
Neither have I, unfortunately. I know Nightbreed really doesn't have that much relation to Cabal, but I'd still be curious to compare the two.
Yeah. I don't know, I need to catch up on a lot of Barker. Like, I haven't even started on, damn it, the new one, the Blood Gospels? Scarlet Gospels, there we go.
Blood Gospels.
Blood Gospels, let's be more direct. Books of Blood, Blood Gospels.
Side note, this all kind of started because Mike actually started reading the Scarlet Gospels. And how far are you into it?
150 pages, I think.
And apparently it's the most amazing Hellraiser movie that's ever been made.
I'd love to see it done. My God, woman, how many abortions have you had? I count 11 here.
Box Office Pulp recommends the Scarlet Gospels.
Oh, wait till you get to read Pinhead being snippy to somebody in hell. It's amazing.
But yeah, Nightbreed is one of those movies where after you watch it, you just feel like you stumbled onto a movie that everyone should know about. It's like you accidentally found, it's like if you accidentally found Army of Darkness and no one else had heard of it. This is part of movie history.
It actually does have that quality. Like, I have to admit, and I only saw this a couple of weeks ago for the first time, with you guys, and I have to admit, it has that quality where this seems like it should be way bigger of a deal than it actually is, because I've seen far, far worse be praised as classics and heralded as just, the epitome of the 80s. This, feels to me like the lost 80s movie.
Very much so. I mean, it's actually become one of my favorite movies since the last time I watched it.
It's just so colorful, and there's just so much world to it.
To put this into perspective, it's like if the troll market scene from Hellboy 2 were an entire movie.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Every scene, something new and crazy and horrible and beautiful is happening. There's so much pure, unadulterated imagination thrown up on the screen.
It is insanely unique to, going back to the whole clash of the different tones and what exactly the movie is trying to be, it's like, to me, it feels like it's all still one narratively cohesive piece. It's just, it's very unique in the way that it tackles, certain genres and integrates them into the same story.
Although I have to say, the town police force really throws me out of the movie, because it just feels like such a caricature of, the bad law abusing hick kind of thing. It just feels so out of place compared to everything else.
It has the single most over-the-top villain cop I've ever seen in a movie.
Apparently, I think Eigerman is from the book, and apparently has
he's
apparently
the
has
villain of the book.
and has and once again the reason Decker being in the film and the studio wanting him to be the villain really shortchanged Eigerman, so he's barely in there. But I think he has a lot of interesting backstory in the book that just wasn't able to be in the movie.
I feel like the police stuff worked just in the context of the metaphor.
Well, yeah, it's
the community hounded by the small town wrecks that just want to kill them all.
It works a hell of a lot better in the director's cut than the theatrical cut.
Oh, God.
Well, essentially, the town police force is the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
With guns.
Yeah, in the theatrical cuts, there's barely any scenes in the police station other than the stuff with Boone, and Boone being released. The press conferences in there, there's maybe one or two scenes in Eigerman's office just for plot purposes.
The lynch mob just appears suddenly.
The lynch mob appears while they're on their way to Midian, and the actual third act, the battle in Midian, is, am I going too far to say it's 10 minutes long?
I think so. I think it's about that much.
Are we talking theatrical or directors?
Theatrical.
Okay, I was going to say, it feels like it's much longer in the director's cut than 10 minutes.
The director's cut, it's the third act.
Yeah, it's it goes on and on and on.
In the theatrical cut, they get there, it's daytime. 30 seconds later, it's night. 30 seconds later, it's over.
In the theatrical cut also, isn't there not really a fight between Boone and Decker?
No, I think something just falls on Decker, and then you see him dead later.
But you see an extended struggle and fight scene where they're fighting in Midian. They're fighting in Necropolis.
It's the best superhero versus supervillain fight that's never been in a movie. And yet somehow that was cut out, even though it's what the studio conceivably would have wanted.
And
the studio cut out, they wanted monsters because it's horror, they cut out monsters. They wanted Decker because they wanted a slasher, they cut out Decker.
They wanted more action, so they cut out the action.
Yeah. What was happening here?
And, right there, with this movie, you can see the treatment that it got. You can see why Barker was very much done with Hollywood. Just by this alone, it's his idea was out there, and I could see how that would be strange to a studio, but the amount of tampering they did with it is just why.
Nightbreed as a film concept came in at a very bad time. I think if you tried to make Nightbreed Nightbreed came out in 91?
Came out in 1990.
Okay, 1990. If he attempted to make Nightbreed, let's say 83 or 84, I think it would have fit perfectly. If he tried to make Nightbreed 10 years later, it would have fit perfectly. He came in at a very bad spot for this kind of film.
Well, in 1990, the slasher genre dried up. There was nothing coming out for slasher stuff. It run its course. And for monster films, this is hard to just classify as a monster film, but what did you have then?
It's it's more of an adventure film, if anything. It's weird
Kind of a
horror,
fantasy.
horror fantasy film. It's very early 80s or.
Yeah, this was just after like the 80s fantasy movie bubble had completely burst.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I could actually see this riding the late 90s wave of Scream or something like that, even though it's not a slasher movie. I could just see that be, like, I think that could actually work in that the marketing could have pushed it as that and kind of sold it as something it wasn't, but then it could kind of gain a cult following through there. Not to say this movie doesn't have a cult following, because it actually does.
The funny thing is, that's exactly how they did advertise it in 1990, just like it was a movie about Decker being a serial killer. Like, the only thing they advertised the monsters at all.
No, well, they did do that, but you've seen the trailer for Nightbreed, haven't you?
Yeah, don't they have the whole over the moon thing?
The worst trailer I have ever seen that makes it look like... This is the weird thing, though. They cut it and put it together like it's a superhero film that's coming out in the year 2004. It's the strangest time-displaced piece of marketing I've ever witnessed. It is terrible. Like, it even has, like, a after-trailer stinger where a character says outstanding. It's puzzling.
I just imagine, like, a bunch of shots of Nightbreed, like you have Boone running through Midian, you have, like, the cops, you have just quick cuts of monsters, and then all of a sudden it fades to black, and then it says, "Gentlemen," and it shows Dr. Octopus as played by Alfred Molina. Fasten your seatbelts.
The league is set, and the game is on.
Like, the music they use for it is, like... They say the word hero in there, the voiceover. It's a hell of a thing. It's
And
something
there is no hero in this movie. Like, Boone just barely rallies them up at the very tail end.
Yeah, the Nightbreed are marketed as their superheroes. It's bizarre.
The poster to Nightbreed has a monster from a completely different movie on it. That says everything you need to know about the marketing.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, and this is a bit of a tangent here, but have you guys watched Digging Up the Marrow?
No.
Okay. God, is it... I'm going to get the director's name wrong. Adam Green, was he the one who did the Hatchet series?
Yes.
Adam Green directed this movie, and it feels like it's set in the Nightbreed universe. Essentially, Ray Weiss is a monster hunter who is convinced that monsters live underground, and if you are very quiet at night and very calm, you can film them and capture them. Not actually physically capture them, but you can, like, you know, get footage of them and you can watch them. And he goes to Adam Green, the actual director, to try and convince him that monsters are real. And Adam Green wants to basically make, you know, a documentary kind of thing about this and capture monsters on footage. So it's him and Ray Weiss basically trying to find monsters out in the woods. It takes a little while to get going, and it's kind of done in like a found footage style. But it really feels like it taps into that Nightbreed idea that monsters are just hiding underground and we need to stop and, you know, bugging them. It's really well done, I think. I loved it. It came out very recently, might be on Netflix, I'm not sure, but I would highly recommend checking out. It's kind of like The Rover is to Mad Max. You know, it feels like it belongs in that universe, can be watched with it, even though it's not a real sequel.
That sounds awesome.
And what's the
It's
name
really
of it again?
good. Digging Up the Marrow.
Box Office Pulp recommends Ray Weiss, Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Is he
And it's cool,
playing
too,
a
because-
character from Jeepers Creepers?
Oh, God. He's not as vengeful. He's more,
That's an amazing sentence. I like how Ray Wise has now played two different kinds of monster hunters.
right. This Monster Hunter might be the wrong thing. He's very protective of the monsters. Like, he gets pissed off when people, like, take flashlights out at night into parks because they're upsetting them.
He's a champion of monsters.
So he's the old guy from Nightbreed.
Yeah, that'd be a much better way of saying it, really.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be
But it's
just
cool, too. Just one more toss in there. A lot of the effects were even done practically. Like, they maybe have CGI flourishes just to make them a little more convincing. But they did go to all the trouble to make these really cool artist renderings come to life physically and, like, actually put costumes on these guys. And the monsters are fucked up. It's great. You have to watch the special features to get a better glimpse at most of them, but they're really cool.
I'm just imagining, this has absolutely nothing to do with that, but to complete the trilogy of Ray Weiss Monster Hunter, Ray Weiss is Van Helsing.
Yes.
Yes, make it so.
Hasn't Ray
I
Wise played...
starve.
Just imagine if he was Van Helsing in Argento's Dracula 3D. We wouldn't get Rutger Hauer then, but come on, it would still work.
You can just call it Argento's Dracula.
The 3D is critical to that movie.
You can just call Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, but that doesn't
Reviews. You have to finish the title, MB.
Hey,
or else the demons will come. I'm sorry, that was weird.
The monsters will come out.
Where do the monsters live?
In Midian.
Segway.
Ooh.
Anyway, going back to Nightbreed, it was, as a first-time viewer, it was really very fascinating to see the way this movie was structured, in more so in Barker's head than it was actually in the finished product of like the original way, because you can tell that this is very much, it has more creative freedom to it than you would imagine like a movie of that period. Even great movies that have very little studio interference still feel a little bit like chained to kind of the constraints of being a movie in the 80s. This is more of what Barker seems to have wanted out of it, even though I don't think this was 100% his vision. I do think that it at least gave it a sense of, okay, this is closer to what he wanted. This is closer to the idea of what Nightbreed was as a concept realized.
Yeah, considering how much he had an impact, he helped make the special edition Scream DVD, I feel like this has to be pretty close to what he was hoping for. Because he was involved in the entire process, he was out there promoting and stuff. He seemed excited for the product they made.
Yeah, he's apparently finally happy with the film. It's the film that he wanted to put out.
Yeah, this is as close as we'll ever get to just seeing Clive Barker's brain put on the silver screen.
And it is a hell of a thing.
It's sad. It would have been, I mean, he was essentially looking at it as his opus. I mean, Nightbreed was going to be his thing. He was going to make Nightbreed films.
Yeah, like James said, it was going to be a Star Wars.
But I've heard people say, Barker should remake it or anything else. I don't think you could ever recapture Nightbreed. Just that was in its time kind of film, good and bad.
I feel like you could do a sequel, perhaps, like maybe attempt to try and do what he wanted to do for like the other films, and kind of try to maybe even mesh it all into like one standalone sequel, just because I don't feel like you could ever get that franchise going again, especially like over 20 years after the original movie came out. But
no, at this point it'd be a reboot or a remake. But really, Hollywood's all into that at this point. It offers the opportunity for sequels. It's a known property. I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried to get the rights to remake it.
If I'm not mistaken, the Nightbreed comic that's currently running is based on whatever Barker was planning on doing for the Nightbreed sequels.
Well, also, since Barker is living, I imagine he would fight like hell to make sure that a remake never came without his direct input, because this was more of a letter of love, I think, than even the Hellraiser series.
Yeah. Well, it all depends. It could be like, if you've ever read anything about John Carpenter's opinion on the remakes, basically says they send me a check and that's all I can do, so I just don't care. Like, they do what they want and it doesn't matter to me.
Well, Barker has been writing the Hellraiser remake, though.
True.
Yeah, Barker,
I don't know how the rights work out. He might actually have all the rights to his stories. I'm not sure if that's the case or not for all of them.
He is an author, so I imagine he has some stake in it.
Well, a lot of times they sell off the rights for these stories, and then whatever happens, they have no input on. They're basically just there to collect a check.
I think, in a way, I think it was Barker writing the Hellraiser remake was Barker has actual name pull in a certain way.
True.
Where it's like, hey, everybody, Barker's writing our movie. It's okay.
You can come in now. This isn't Hellraiser Hell World. Evil goes online.
Or Revelations. And as far as remaking Nightbreed would go, I think the fact that Barker, health-wise, will, if he ever wanted to return to directing, isn't going to now. I think you need Barker directing a Nightbreed film.
Yeah.
There's a certain magic that he has with how he puts everything together that you would lose if somebody else was behind the camera.
I guess that's true. I didn't really think about that because to be honest, it's just so many directors have kind of been influenced by Barker at this point that I kind of assumed someone could do it, but this really is the most personal of personal projects to Barker. Like, I mean, it was going to be his big end-all, be-all statement as far as an artist or an author goes.
If I could throw out a trump card, I feel like Guillermo del Toro could make a remake of this.
I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, it's true.
I mean,
It would be just as caring, and Del Toro fucking loves monsters, so it would be just as loving towards their side of things.
It would be fulfilling Del Toro's dream of just doing the troll market scene for 2 hours.
That's what he does every
heaven.
Christmas. He gathers his family and puts them in costumes and forces them to dance around a table.
They just filmed
Can we
Nightbreed
sit
2
down,
at his
Papa?
house.
Yeah.
In his van cave.
The only problem is Del Toro would have to do it.
That is an uphill battle.
Hey man, he's making stuff.
Is he making Monster?
No.
Is he
Is
making
Monster on my TV
Frankenstein?
right now?
No.
Is he making Hellboy 3?
Is he making the Incredible Hulk TV
Is he making
series?
Dead Man?
No.
Is he making
Is he
making
making
Justice League Dark?
This list is going to go for about 5 hours. Hey guys, progress has moved forward on the Haunted Mansion movie he was talking about, though.
I was
Bullshit! It's never gonna happen.
Hey, it might. They haven't cast, but they've essentially drawn in Ryan Gosling for one of the roles. They announced that like a month ago, so that's progress.
And Tron 3 was gonna start shooting in a few months.
I blame Tomorrowland for that one. That's ruined everything.
That is Tomorrowland's fault. Thank you, George Clooney.
God damn it. I was really excited for Tron 3 too.
I'm depressed.
You
Somebody
killed
talk about
Tron.
Nightbreed again.
You
Is it-
Tron, Clooney.
Tron! Is it too late for me to go back to our Star Wars Nightbreed comparison and make a joke about Midian Chlorians?
too far.
Well, you just did.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Well, also,
That's all I got to say.
I don't think it's a matter of being too late as just
In poor
Why?
taste.
why.
I enjoy making people feel bad.
We just talked about Tomorrowland sucking down a Tron sequel. You didn't have to make us feel worse.
I can't stop.
You did this to us, Boone.
I don't like you guys fighting. You are in a gemmed place, my friends. You were able to experience Nightbreed, the director's cut, without being pre-marred by the theatrical cut.
It is a very
That's true.
exclusive club.
As much as I enjoyed watching the theatrical cut.
You did not have to look at that and think, what could have been?
Yes, you didn't watch a broken thing. You watched the teacup fly back up into Clive Barker's hands and reform piece by piece.
You never know. I may go back and see the theatrical cut. God knows why, but
You should, just for the ending.
How was the ending? Oh, are we just talking about the super truncated Midian battle? Or is there something weird that happens at the end?
yeah, apparently there's a supervillain scene at the end.
James, tell him.
Yeah, it ends pretty much the same as the theatrical cut, except the priest resurrects Deckard, who's outside the cemetery crucified for no particular reason. He dips his hand in Baphomet juice and inserts it into his chest, and then Deckard springs to life and lets out an animalistic scream.
The camera zooms in his face, credits.
And Mike and James tried to find this scene on YouTube for me to see, but they could not locate it, so I'm just left with their description.
It's amazing, because Ashbury in the director's cut is really low-key in that scene with Eigerman. Eigerman just died in the theatrical cut. You don't see him again. But Ashbury's so low-key, but he's super, I wouldn't say over the top, but he's kind of super villainish in the theatrical cut. Their god burned me! It's pretty amazing.
Master, I want to burn him back.
Oh, credits. It's a hell of an ending. I'm almost disappointed Barker didn't just leave that in just for the hell of it, but
It does actually sound kind of entertaining.
it's just so comic book. It's incredible. It makes no sense, but we would have gone Monster Decker.
God, can you imagine a Clive Barker superhero movie?
The Fleshman.
Starring Pinhead.
No, he does. No, hear me out. He directs and writes his own adaptation of the Doom Patrol.
That would be perfect.
Dead seriously, if Barker was ever going to do a comic book movie, I always loved the idea of him doing Swamp Thing.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Del Toro would be like a great second choice there.
I'm still just imagining if Clive Barker directed a Spider-Man movie and Spider-Man just having chains pop out of his arms and fly across to attack the skyscrapers.
Spider pain, spider pain.
Every time Peter swings across the city, he's screaming in agony.
Yes.
Fun joke. This is a geeky ass thing. The offspring of the Carnage symbiote in Spider-Man comics, Toxin, fires chains from its wrists.
I will say, if you take anything away from this episode of Box Office Pulp, viewers, it's that Guillermo del Toro is the poor man's Clive Barker.
Right.
I believe we've made that abundantly clear.
Wow, way to piss Cody off.
This show's done. I'm out of here. Flip the desk.
So that we keep saying, oh, Clive Barker could do this. Or perhaps Del Toro.
But I say that about everything. Like, I say that about, like, my high school plays.
You want
South
to see
Pacific's
Del
pretty good, but what if?
You want to see Del Toro remake Jaws and the Star Wars movies?
At the same time, like Jaws, Star Wars?
Space
Star
Shark.
Jaws.
Star Jaws. Holy shit, I want to see that movie.
Luke has to hunt down the Death Star with Quint.
I swear to God, there's an issue of Spidey Super Stories called Star Jaws. That's Jaws and Star Wars mashed together with Doctor Doom and Spider-Man.
What?
Oh, why haven't we read this?
Beautiful.
Doom battles Spider-Man with a hot peak lightsaber at one point.
That was a real thing?
And his Death Star is essentially a giant shark that's going to eat the Earth.
Yes.
And it's Spidey Super Stories, so it's like written for 3-year-olds. And this is Give Me Your Country's Doom.
Was it written by Larry Lieber?
It's possible.
Oh my god. I think the episode is done now.
I can't, nothing to top that.
Box
Let's go to
Office Pulp.
IMDb.
Yes, do IMDb.
Oh boy.
Box Office Pulp recommends Spidey Super Stories.
So we can at least end talking about Nightbreed.
Exactly.
Nah.
This is the most Nightbreed episode. Can we release 2 different edits of it?
Oh, that'd be great. Like my cut, whereas everything mine would be the Cabal cut, where it's just 4 hours long.
The Cody cut.
The Cody cut.
I want to have the Cody cut of every episode now.
James, you have
Like
to
you
be a
somehow make the Dark Knight Rises episode like 10 hours long.
Longer. First question on It Came from IMDb on Nightbreed. So, what the hell were they? From Mr. Card. I'm going to go out on a limb and say monsters. But, okay, let's read the full question. So after watching this film, I am still left a little confused. We are the Nightbreed one race or a collection of various monsters? Why didn't Boone turn into a thing like that one that bit him? Nobody found it odd that there was a giant abandoned cemetery just off the road in Canada? I did like the movie, but it seemed like I am missing something.
Why didn't Boone turn into that other thing with the thing?
You
Right?
mean you mean like those giant, populated cemeteries that are in every town?
confused. Like, does he not know how cemeteries work? Also, there's always abandoned cemeteries. They get overgrown. It's okay.
Yeah.
People die. Die on IMDb. I'm going to explain to you the concept of death.
Okay, let him hear it.
I've lost interest.
Sometimes God needs an angel, IMDb guy.
Sometimes when a daddy Deadpool really loves a Mrs. Death, they kill innocent bystanders. And then they have to put them somewhere.
Box Office Pulp recommends Marvel Comics.
Marvel Comics.
And Swamp Thing.
And
Right.
maybe Nightbreed somewhere in there.
And Nightbreed, if you have time for it. The next comment, awful! Exclamation point, from a Gar fan. I don't like to pan any film, but I think this movie totally sucked. Bad acting, horrible script, and terrible makeup. Only thing I enjoyed was seeing John Agar in a small role. I'm a fan of good bad movies, but this was bad. I see I'm in the minority, so maybe I just missed something, or everything. Set up for a sequel that I hope was never made.
Wow.
Yeah.
What else that would anger me?
Yeah, you missed everything.
I just like that introduction.
Bad
I don't like to
makeup?
pan any film, but this sucked.
Bad makeup?
Bad makeup. That's one of his 3 complaints.
I understand disliking the movie, but bad makeup? How retarded are you?
Oh, he did enjoy the music.
Well,
That's just universal.
Of course, he enjoyed the one mainstream thing about the movie.
And later on, he says, I hope to be able to see the original version someday. Thought it had some potential when I saw it and would like to see what that potential was.
Maybe he would like the theatrical version better.
he watches it on a VHS, so the makeup looks better.
Oh, someone else is talking about the Cabal cut. So apparently he wants to watch that. He doesn't want to watch anything else but the Cabal cut. I hate this. I want 4 more hours of it.
But I hope they didn't make another.
Right? Yeah.
Because my life is ruined.
Oh, he cuts off his own face.
Like, at that point, I don't even understand. Like, I really hope they didn't make another. Why? You didn't hear about it if they did. So it doesn't impact you in any way?
Also, you don't have to see it if they make another.
I don't want that movie to win.
Oh, internets. Movie database.
I like the pause.
Next one, from Demo Deuce. Is this nostalgic for anyone else? It feels like almost all of my favorite movies as a kid in the 80s, early 90s were cult classics. I don't know the name to some of them until I discovered IMDb. I remember coming across this VHS while babysitting for my mom's friend. I wanted to borrow the tape, but they wouldn't let me. I've only seen the film twice. Once that night, then years later on cable before DVR. The DVD will be watched today definitely. Hope Blu-ray Cabal Cut or EXT plays out after all. Okay.
Good for them.
Alright, glad you enjoyed it.
Story, man.
Yeah, I felt like I read way too much into that guy's life. Next up, things that bother me in Nightbreed. Why is it that when Boone gets bitten, there's a circular white special effect appliance under his bloody t-shirt? I'm referring to when he's bitten by the Beast after he first visits Midian. The blood bite mark was white rubber or something under the prosthetic bite. Then later, when he's stabbed, his injury has what appears to be a white card of some sort around it. And when Boone later pulls the knife out, he looks down on the card and noticeably pulls it off. I almost wondered if it was a weird mutant Nightbreed power that made these things appear since he looked at it, but I've never seen this in any other movie. Another thing that bugs me about this movie is the gum-chewing dude who rips his face off. His 1950s auto mechanic performance is annoying and inappropriate, and why do certain peripheral characters have to throw out one-liners like, "There goes the neighborhood," ellipses? If they don't talk at all, they'd appear more menacing. Otherwise, I like this movie. There's very little I'd modify.
Except for those things.
Except for that special effect around his knife wound that pissed me right off.
I never saw it in another movie before. You notice not every movie is, like, connected, right?
What?
I didn't see this in Abyss.
I like Boone's superpower of producing a card under his shirt.
I mean, the card got stabbed in him and then stuck to him, and then he pulled it off.
I like how everyone responding to this guy saying, "It's just the white t-shirt that's the white thing around the wound."
Should we get this guy help?
Like they're concerned about him. Like, "Are you okay, bro? I'm pretty sure it's just
Stay where you are.
We'll come to you, Boo Genesis 681130058.
I'm glad you held off revealing that name.
Yes. And the best part, he found a new way to spell Genesis. It's not Genesis or Genesis, but Jenness.
No, that's not how that works, buddy. No.
The first part is Bud.
Well,
Bud Genesis, and then his phone number? I don't know, area code? I don't know.
We know where he lives. Let's go. Yes, sir. Actually, we have to take down his door.
Hold on, I got a area code 681. He's in West Virginia.
I'm like 3 hours away. We can do this.
Come on, guys, let's get him.
Everyone, to Midian.
To Midian. Meet for the beast.
This is a weird show.
Yes. And then I'm just going to stop on the front page here. The last one, Cabal 2 and 3. All right, Lenny 21, let's make this a keeper. You're the closer. Lenny21 has to say, well, now we've got the Cabal cut, CB will be no more disappointed. I hope he'll write the 2 new novels we are all waiting. Ellipses.
Was he murdered?
It's in the castle of...
God damn it, I almost did a spit take. Oh, God.
That's how he ends it.
Why?
Can we end the show on that? We are all waiting. That's a wrap, everybody, and then cue music.
I think you just did the ending.
That's it, I guess. Check out our other shows. We're on iTunes, Blogspot, Stitcher, Cave Paintings, and Ancient Buildings.
And The Matrix.
This is the point where you guys can pimp your shows if you want. Ain't my job.
Oh, okay. And also listen to our new podcast, Graphic Novelism, where we dissect the comic book culture in humorous and hilarious ways. Check it out. We do a hell of a job.
Box Office Pulp recommends Graphic Novelism.
It is now on iTunes and Stitcher. Graphicnovelism.blogspot.com is the website, and it is where comic book culture goes to get vivisected.
Check out our first episode, The People v Superman, to find out why the Man of Steel still thrives in the age of today.
I feel like that's a high five moment. That was great teamwork there, guys. We kicked the hell out of that ad.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Also, maybe we should pip out another show. Just
Whatever.
to kind of even it out.
Sure, just keep spinning them out. We got time.
We'll just go to pulppodcast.wordpress.com and find all the fine shows on the Pulp Podcast Network and all the subscription links you need to their homepages, to Facebook, to iTunes, to Stitcher, where you can find Pulp Nightmare, Below the Bible Belt, Conjectural Combat, Hercules versus the Podcast, and even this show.
I should have started with that. That was good.
Thank you.
That would have covered all the bases. Okay.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
What is this show again?
Wait, who are you? Why are you in my house?
I'll leave.
Wait, do we even know each other?
Who are you people?
Get the hell off my plane.
That's a wrap, everybody. Get out of here.
And like that, he's gone.
What a weird ending.
It was actually more coherent than most of ours.
No, it wasn't.
Marginally.
Okay, I
What
just
hap-
finished.
What happened? You did the sign out twice. It happened, and then we did the selling thing, then you did it again. And now we're in an after credit scene, and we're stuck here forever.
Mike, you forget the important part. You said you would edit.
Like I'm gonna edit. I'll slap a thing on there, put it online, and it's done.
The Cabal cut.
I still say we should totally do the Cody cut, which is just the unedited Skype file.
I would love that. That'd be so good. I would.
Put it up
It's a
there.
weird running joke.
Can we please? I'd be so happy.
Just fascinating. In 2014, it was announced that Morgan Creek was developing a television series based on the original film.
Oh, I remember
As of
hearing
2015, there's no further news.
that. They gave up real quick.
Now, this is amazing. A 2-part Hellraiser vs. Nightbreed Jihad graphic novel was produced featuring the Cenobites as agents of order against their chaotic nemesis, the Nightbreed.
That just makes sense. Are we still in the after credit scene?
I think so. It just won't end. It won't die.
So somebody, do a funny Nightbreed joke so we can go out.
Y'all come back now, yeah?
That works
actually
nice and
perfect.
good, yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't think I was going anywhere. Oh. This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.
And on this day, the heavens and Alan Moore's beard opened up and revealed to you Graphic Novelism. The podcast where comic book culture goes to get vivisected is now on the Pulp Podcast Network. Find it at graphicnovelism.blogspot.com or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/graphicnovelism. Also on Stitcher Internet Radio.